Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company. Drop and Give Me 20 is the podcast for military entrepreneurs. Each episode is around 20 minutes long, giving entrepreneurs a glimpse into the life of other successful military entrepreneurs, learning from their obstacles and gaining insight and inspiration. Podcast episodes focus on the stories, challenges, and wins military entrepreneurs have faced in their businesses. I am your host, Lindsay Germono, and thank you for tuning in. Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company. I am your hostess, Lindsay Germono, and as most podcasters fear, I did a phenomenal, funny introduction a second ago, but I didn't hit record. And so what I'm going to try and do is gather that. I totally threw off my guest. She didn't know what I was going to say. So I feel like I've lost my my balloon is deflated.
Oh.
But for those that are listening, you ever been to a conference and you get a little silly with the happy hours or whatever, and you're not feeling that great the next day, but you have a morning flight to make, and you ever just wonder if you're not going to make that flight? Wonder no more. Kellie Artis is here to save the day. She is who you want in your room. She's just going to make sure you are where you're supposed to be. But she's also a lot of fun while you're there. So without further ado, Kellie, hi.
Hi. I'm gonna impart a life lesson to all of your listeners. Never book a morning flight when you're leaving a conference. I don't care how badly you think you want to get back to your children and all that crap. Like, don't do it. Okay. Noon or later. Always important.
What? My flight was like, I think we had to leave the hotel at something very reasonable, like 7 or 8 a.m. I mean, it wasn't
not reasonable at all. No.
But
the problem is I know this lesson and I booked my flight for 2, 3 in the afternoon, but somehow I always hook up with y'all morning flight people that have a hard time and I have to get y'all to the airport. So yeah. Just do everybody a favor, yourself and your conference buddies. Book the afternoon flight, y'all. Okay, thanks.
This life lesson brought to you by Kellie and Lindsay. Thank you for listening to Drop and Give Me 20. Goodbye. I invited Kellie on because we've been in the military community space. Kellie is someone that I trust, I look up to. She's provided a lot of mentorship to me along the ways, and maybe she doesn't even know that. It's just, another fun fact. But you get stressed out about life and about business and entrepreneurship, and she is just a breath of fresh air. She's going to give it to you real, so be ready for that. But she's going to give it to you with that Southern flair of, but let me bless your heart after. So. Kellie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself more formally. Now that I've made a big old joke of the beginning of this podcast, but for real, in all seriousness, you guys, she is the BOMB, the light of my day is this podcast episode that I'm recording today. So Kellie, without further ado, hit it, girl. Give us your introduction.
My intro. Well, thanks, Lindsay. I am a military spouse of 15 years. So doing this lifestyle for a very long time, with my service member for over 20 at this point. So it just, it's been a part of my life for most of my life. Let's put it that way. I have done the traditional hop around all the different jobs, hodgepodge resume, you could imagine. And I was actually having a really fun conversation the other day with someone about just like, oh, this must have been really detrimental for your career. We were talking about personality types. And I was like, actually, my personality type, or we'll say it. If you guys don't know what Enneagrams are, I apologize. I might bring this up a couple of times, but I'm a type 5 for anyone that's familiar. And what that means is I get fascinated by a lot of different things. Like it's really kind of hard to hold my attention. So in a way, I feel like the lifestyle has, I was very well suited for this. So I'll tell you my professional endeavors right now, and you're going to be like, what in the world is going on with this lady? She just seems unfocused. I promise.
No, she's not. Don't talk about her like that's my friend.
Don't talk about her. So I am the COO of a startup called Millie. We are obsessed with helping alleviate the stress of a PCS move or permanent change of station for military families. We do that by providing resources, content, service providers to help kind of along every step of the way while people are trying to make decisions about where they're going to live at their next duty station for active duty folks. I also kind of have this obsession with personality types and Enneagram and inner motivation and self-discovery. So I do a little speaking on the side. I've done some collaborations with some folks. Lindsay just came across it. I have a Stoic philosopher friend, Scott Perry, that I partner up with him to do some speaking gigs specifically for the military spouse community. So that's always fun. And then my newest thing is that I am the director of communications for a startup called Virtual Veterans Communities. And we're actually working to help enhance the educational experience and journey for military connected students in higher learning institutions. So that looks like providing support services, coaching assets for military and veteran students, and then career guidance for when they are on their way out of their program. So yeah, that's what I got going on.
So unpacking that luggage, I'm going to do it the way, and I still need to take the quiz or do the prompts to figure out what type I am. I think you said it was an 8 or something when we were together, but maybe that's changed.
I don't say what you are.
You don't, that's right. And you even said that then. You can't tell me what I am.
I can't tell you. Yeah.
What is the type that wants to know what they are without doing the work? Because that's
all of them. Everyone. Where's the quiz? I want to take the quiz. It's a pretty deep framework.
Did you say it was like 90 minutes or something for?
If you want to take the quiz, I mean, I've been working on my type for 6 years, and reading and doing all of the self-discovery. So, it can be, you can have a shortcut and take a quiz and immediately uncover your type and resonate with it. Or there's so many layers and nuances to it that sometimes it takes people years to fully identify what their true like core type. And when you say type, we're talking about your core fears and desires and motivations. And that's sometimes really kind of hard to get down to. Like we think we know ourselves, but most of us don't really. So, I don't know, Lindsay, like, I don't want to teach you of that experience.
See how she just laid at that. She told me no, but really nicely, you guys. That's how Kellie is. She's great. So to unpack that a little bit, I think that when we first met, we were talking a lot about Millie, and I thought that was a fascinating service that I had not heard before. But for those that are listening, I have to go back and see what number episode it was, but we had the owners from Millie on as a podcast guest, and they were sharing the kind of the background of Millie, which is, there's a need when you PCS to a new location to get information about that the schools where to live, but you're not there and you don't have anybody to like go and look at the houses. And so, so it's just a phenomenal asset that I know has been used. And I talk about it all the time to folks that I know that are PCSing. So that is, kind of where I began with Kellie. And then the second part was the unpacking was, we were at a conference. So we became friendly with each other. I went down to Fayetteville, led a conference down there. Of course, she recruited everybody to come to that. That was wonderful. And then we went to this conference. We started sharing a lot of really great conversations about folks in our space. So I'm going to position it like that. And for those that are not listening, I just like leaned in and did like a wink, wink, because
we weren't gossiping. It wasn't like
we weren't. I mean, first of all, I think Kellie is the same way. If I'm going to take the time to think a bad thought and say it to someone else, I better say it to you. Like that's just, I'm not programmed any other way. So we were just more sharing like, hey, if I were to do business with this person or this organization, like, what do you know?
Right.
And that's really where it is. And so I would love to kind of pick your brain a little bit more about that, Kellie, because in military entrepreneurship, I believe that there are phases. So there's the idea generation. You feel incredibly alone, but also really excited. Is this something I want to do? Maybe it's a side hustle. Maybe I, get on Etsy, try this out a little bit. And then you start realizing like, oh, there's this huge network of individuals and organizations that are there to help you. Mm-hmm. But in that space, when you're incredibly vulnerable and your business is incredibly vulnerable, there's some folks, there's some, just conversations that might put a bad taste in your mouth. Right. And I think that that's also important as a part of growth. So I am no psychologist. I'm still learning the things. My business is going to be 8. So I'm still learning the things, but in that space, finding folks that you can trust and rely on, right? Like because you don't feel like you can talk about a whole lot of things. What do I do if I can't make payroll? What do you, this business that I'm pursuing, it's not making me any money. Like, who do I talk to about that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I want to know in your conversations with, with folks in our community, how prevalent is that kind of issue?
Oh,
There's whole conferences built around them.
yeah, I know. Well, I think it's a I don't know if it's specific to the military community or not.
True, true.
Obviously I'm more familiar with and acquainted with our community. I think it's hard to navigate the landscape in general. So you're talking, as a young entrepreneur, right? You're going to think, okay, I need all the resources I can, but there's also this risk of, like you said, like putting too much out there and sharing too much in hopes of like somebody swooping in and like rescuing you, right? Or worst case scenario, somebody taking advantage of your situation, right? I think that very early you have to find out who your allies are. What that often looks like is people that are willing to help you and support you or share your thing without asking for anything in return. So you can start kind of small with fishing for those kinds of folks, right? Being benevolent yourself often helps kind of attract the kind of people that you want in your corner. You also want to try to be the organization that's going to help elevate others. And then also be on the lookout for people that you think will speak. I forget who says it. Someone says, look for friends that are going to speak your name in rooms full of opportunity. Those are the kind of people that you need on your team. So it's not about quantity here. It's definitely about quality. And it's not something to be taken lightly. I mean, when we talk about brand collaborations or even podcasts that we go on and be associated with. And I had a podcast we ran 60, 70 episodes of a podcast, my former partner and I, for another venture. And we had a guest come on that I thought was a fantastic guest, and I didn't do enough research and ended up having to like scrub the episode, right? Because I didn't want my brand or our brand affiliated with coming out. So like I think you have to, I might be veering into another conversation here.
No, this is good. Beer, girl.
I think you have to know your values.
Sure.
Above all else. Sure. Your personal values, which are inextricably linked to your company, to your brand, to your business. Know your business values. And make sure that any collaborations or any sort of endeavors, partnerships, whatever, match all of those things align and there are no conflicts. And I think that helps head off a lot of the problems, right? I think if you're too quick to jump into big partnerships or to put yourself out there or to seek, assistance from, any of the things that you mentioned earlier, like I think that there could be ramifications. I mean, like it's still business, y'all. Like it's still business. So
you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna pick the wrong folks. But hopefully, it's how you come back from it, right? Or like, let's say you're getting ready to go into a partnership with someone. Sometimes it's good just to sit on it for a minute and not be so like I have a tendency to I'm a fighter. I jump, I react and then think. And so sometimes it's good to just kind of like feel it out a little bit. It's a relationship, really. I mean, all of those things.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody comes to you and asks you, or says, "Hey, I'm getting ready to start a business. I'm a military spouse." What advice would you give that individual?
Determine first of all whether it's a business or a hobby. I've had several hobbies. One that we actually LLC'd, and then I realized that Uncle Sam still cares that you have a hobby.
Yeah.
It still wants you to pay taxes and file taxes on your hobby. And I'm like, wait, but our hobby didn't make any money. We're just doing it for the good of the community, Uncle Sam, don't you know? And he was like, yeah, you're going to still have to pay me. So determine what you're willing to invest into your business and or your hobby. It's real. Make sure that you're prepared to call in and tap into all of the professionals in the land that you will need in order to make sure that you are above board. I think a lot of military spouses probably start out and reasonably so, as like sole, what do you call it? Sole props, like just like,
Full
oh yeah,
proprietorship.
yeah, I'm going to do my blog. I'm going to sell some things, which is all well and good. But if you speak to any of our lawyer friends, they're going to tell you like, you definitely want a curtain. You want to make sure that your personal finances are protected. And I think that there's a bit of not a misunderstanding, or there's just,
Those steps are so important.
They're so important, and they're so hard. Like they are and they're not, but like they're really intimidating. Let's put it that way. They're intimidating. So like we're like, yeah, be an entrepreneur, but then I don't know.
What do I do first?
Yeah. And there's certainly resources out there for it, but I think that there's like a fortitude that you need to establish before you're like, yeah, I'm gonna have a business. Mm-hmm. I didn't even mention. So I do have another LLC for freelance work that I do. And that seemed like that has been an easier process because I had built-in clients. Like I already had revenue before I even established the LLC. So I think as long as you're situated in a position to where like, okay, no, I actually know what my revenue is going to be for the year. And this, I need to have it over here away from all of my personal finances. But I knew that ahead of time. Right. So if you just kind of have this idea percolating, like I want to start a business, like spend some time, like really, really, really thinking that through, and not just like in the moment, like what does it look like 5 years from now? What does it look like 10 years from now?
There's so many programs and resources out there to support you.
Yeah.
In that same breath, just one off the top of your head that you would steer people to, either, community or an organization for those that are entrepreneurial minded to sit in the room with others, which one would you?
Bunker Labs jumps top of mind. I actually attended an incubator through MFAN, Military Family Advisory Network, partnered with an organization called Seed Spot, and they did a fantastic it was kind of like an incubator boot camp for military spouses specifically. And that was it was a great gut check, y'all. It was like, what are you actually trying to do here? Let's frame it out. Let's actually do like 3 days worth of problem solving and sort of, like facilitating all of the business plan and I mean, everything. And then we had to give pitches at the end. So it really was like, oh, you're either going to run with this idea because now you've been given all the tools, or like, that was a great exercise. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. And I don't think I'm quite there yet, So definitely try those out. I mean, and again, being in the military community, you have access to a lot of free or low cost resources for entrepreneurs.
And tons of military entrepreneurship Facebook groups. If you just want to dip your toe in and just want to be a fly on the wall and listen to some really great conversations. I know Moni Jefferson's group is really great. I love going in there and just kind of like seeing what's going on. Of course, we have a Facebook group, Bunker Labs. There's just a ton of portals that you can just sit and listen and then, do that though, because you're going to glean so much from others on what to do, what not to do. And you're listening to this podcast. So something must have brought you here other than Kellie and I's debauchery. But it's good stuff. So I'm glad you're here.
I have some great photos. Something about a panda head. I don't know where the panda head comes from.
Why did I put this panda head? We were all putting this like huge panda head on.
Pre-COVID.
Sorry, but gosh, that was fun. There was a puppy there. Anyway, so having, but that's part of this too. The fun that you have with others that just get it. I was also in a conference one time and I had to go and run payroll and no one blinked an eye. No one thought so. And I was like, so sorry, I got to go run and like press the, send button. And, I think that that's really cool too, because you're in the room with others that like, they just get it. When we're at conferences and we have our devices on, it's not like we're being rude. It's just because there might be something that we need to address. And I think you learn to kind of like cope with that, Anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Find the people that know things that you don't and be really good friends with them.
Yes.
So I have this saying, like, there's this, so I have 2 kids and there's always this like mom guilt around working and not really doing all the things with your kids and having like the Pinterest birthday parties and, all the things, right? I've never really had a hard time with that because a long time ago, I think maybe somebody even told me this, like, you don't have to be the perfect mom. You just have to be friends with her. And she'll throw the cookie parties for Christmas Eve. And you know what I mean? And so but I've adopted that to almost every aspect of my business. I was doing some video recording with someone remotely the other day, and the person on my guest had some camera issues. Like there was just something off with it was a nice camera. So I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. This has something to do with like photographer level stuff, like ISO and aperture and all this. I don't know that. I know how to set mine up and that's it. And, but I have 3 or 4 videographers on speed dial, got them in on the Zoom that we were recording on, had him walk my friend through the settings. I sent the guy a coffee, like buy me a coffee. I was like, hey, thanks. And that's it. Like, because I've done favors for him. Right. Again, be generous.
Yes.
Be generous. And then you can kind of like amass your team, essentially. So I think especially as like a solopreneur, smaller company, I think that's crucial. We don't typically have these big office environments where we can like go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, can you help me with this thing? You've got to kind of do that virtually now and establish all of your people and kind of let them know like, hey, would you mind if I ping you about if I ever have an issue with this? And you mentioned Facebook groups. I think those are gigantic, like a tremendous asset. I mean, I think that has changed the game where you can just drop a question in a Facebook group, especially an entrepreneur Facebook group, likely have an answer, super quickly, that's reliable. And then, I don't know. I think the world is so open now that it's exciting. And people are really trying to help one another. So,
but you said this too, give it back,
for sure.
and if it's not received, don't let that, impact your mentality on giving it, paying it forward. Find somebody to help, like you've been helped, or, is there a resource or something? Give value, do all that. It feels good, y'all. It does. I mean, like at the end of the day, it feels good to know that, gosh, if one person listens to this podcast episode and gets one idea from it, that feels good to me. And I mean, maybe they'll connect with Kelly or they'll connect with some of my other guests, and there's a networking component to that. And now they've formed a relationship, and that's cool stuff. So in your business, and we haven't really talked about like how revenue is generated for either of us, because I think at the end of the day, it's like we're all sitting in the spaces together and we can all help each other. Kelly and I could have competing businesses, and I would value her tremendously as somebody in our community. How do people connect with you if they wanted to, befriend you?
You know what I did? I made one of those fancy bio links because I can't figure out how to tie all my strings together in a cohesive way. Like none of it makes sense. So Kellie.bio, and Kelly is KELLIE, you guys. Kellie.bio.link. And it's got like all my stuff, all my socials, all my, stuff that I work on, things that I do, things that I enjoy. There's a buy me a coffee link over there too, if you want to pick my brain or do anything. And it's not always, there's not always a cost associated. You could literally just ping me and be like, hey, let's chat.
Yeah. So. I love it. I love you. You're my favorite. I miss seeing you. We're states away now, but I know, the internet has made it so much easier for us to stay in touch, and I support you 1000%. Now I'm transitioning to the part of the podcast that I've not told you about, but it's a lot less buttoned up. Well, not like we have ever been buttoned up from this 20 minutes, but this is the fun stuff. So if you've got some place to go ahead, sign off. We've done all the business stuff, but I'm just firing fun questions to my guests towards the end of each episode. And they're just very short, fun things. Kelly, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you.
Makes me very nervous. Yeah.
Like what's the worst candy of all time?
Licorice.
Licorice is so gross.
It's nasty. Can't do it. That's an easy. Next.
The good and plenty's? Yuck. All right. What was your first job?
Oh my God. Well, job that I got paid for.
Yes, girl.
Schlotsky's Deli.
They got good sandwiches with the olives on it.
I did front desk there, I'd check out there, but my first job was cleaning tanning beds. And I got paid with tanning bed session time.
Sure.
Horrible. But anyway, yeah.
20 years ago, hey, I would have done that too.
This is more like 30, but
okay. Okay.
No, it's 25.
Last impulse buy.
A Dyson V11 vacuum cleaner.
You just got so serious.
Because I'm obsessed. It's amazing. I don't know if you can see, I have two. We have pandemic puppies that we adopted.
Yeah, one's been stretching in the background for the past 20 minutes.
They're very they're Shepskis. They're Shepherd Husky mixes, and they're coating my house in dog hair right now. So I got the most versatile vacuum I could find and spent a fortune on it that I am just not proud of, but it's a great vacuum. Highly recommend.
Is it cordless? What? What's so exciting?
It's cordless. It's one of the little canister ones you can carry it around. So
yeah, but with dog hair, you don't worry. It's going to get like, I don't know.
It's Dyson.
It's Dyson.
It's a Dyson. So
all right. My last question. Thank you for putting up with my shenanigans. What is the last purchase you made from Amazon?
Probably
a
cord. So if you could see my setup, you would probably like lose your mind. I have a box full of just cords. There's always a cord that I'm missing. So I think it was probably a micro. Actually, it might have been this one. It's a display port cord that connects to my cam link. Anyway, it's all gear. We call it gear acquisition syndrome in the live streaming groups. So you're gassy. Because anytime somebody buys something new, we're all like, ooh, and then we go buy it. So most likely it's a cord of some sort.
No one asked me these questions, but I'm going to answer. I'm going to actually look into my Amazon and see what my last purchase was. Oh, y'all, I'm so excited. So I bought tank tops, and one of them is, this is really bizarre, but Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It was on Cartoon Network a long time ago, one of my favorite cartoons. And then Space Ghost. So another really weird, cartoon. So I just bought 2 tank tops from Cartoon Network for Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And then the other one is Space Ghost. And I plan on wearing them while working out.
You're not young. Are you young enough for that? Did you watch that cartoon as a kid? No, right? That came out when we were adults, didn't it?
Am I old?
How
It's Adult Swim. Adult Swim was for people who were like 18 and up.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to watch that. So maybe I just wasn't on.
No. You probably, let's see. Well, we're the same age, Kelly. So I think you're maybe a year younger than me too. But anyway, you were in college when this stuff was like all the rage.
Okay.
So you were probably busy being a college girl, having fun. My nerd ass, was watching stupid stuff like Adult Swim at midnight. Robot Chicken would have been in the lineup in there.
I didn't watch it. All right. No, you're right. That was college. All right. Okay. That's cool. Look, my kids just bought, my 9-year-old bought an AC/DC t-shirt, and my dad, his grandpa, thinks it's hilarious. So they actually he pulled out his AC/DC music and his CDs or tapes or 8-tracks or I don't know what, but they were jamming out. And Reese was like, "The music is really aggressive, Mom." I'm like, "Yeah, honey."
Rock and roll, man. Does anybody have a pencil that I can rewind the cassette with?
Yeah. Well, I have a t-shirt for him that says it's Be Kind Rewind, and it's got the pencil, and he's like, "What is this even, Mom?" I'm like, "It's a cassette tape. It's fine."
That's how we did it, kids. We didn't have a rewind button like we did now. Kelly, this has been fun.
I love you. Thank you so much.
I should do this more often. You guys, for those that actually stayed through this, be sure to connect with Kellie Artis. Like I said, she's the bee's knees. I will tag her in all of the things. Kelly, keep doing what you're doing. I miss you, and I know I'll see you soon.
Same.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Drop and Give Me 20. Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company, and we would love to invite you into our network of military entrepreneurs on Facebook. Just search for Drop and Give Me 20 and join the Facebook group.